Welcome to this presentation on the AgriRecovery Drought Assistance Programs for livestock producers in Manitoba. These programs were developed in response to the 2021 drought, in which many livestock producers found themselves in regions that were rated as being in a severe, extreme, or exceptional drought. Two programs have been developed to help livestock producers impacted by the drought access the feed that is needed to maintain their breeding herds over the coming winter. The Livestock Feed and Transportation Assistance Program provides assistance for purchasing feed for breeding animals and transporting purchased feed to breeding animals. The Livestock Transportation Program provides assistance for transportation of breeding animals to an alternate feeding location when feed cannot be sourced for the breeding herd locally. The first of these programs is the Livestock Feed and Transportation Program. It provides assistance for purchasing and testing feed and moving purchased feed to breeding animals. It is designed to help producers access the feed that is needed to overcome shortfalls caused in winter feeding needs by the drought of 2021. Who and what is eligible for feed purchase and feed transportation assistance? Well, primary producers who owned or leased the eligible animals as of June 1st and continue to own or lease them till at least March 15th are eligible to apply. That is, they can apply for assistance for purchasing or transporting feed that is needed for the breeding animals that they will be maintaining over the winter. The eligible animals include breeding head of beef and dairy cattle, horses raised for PMU, sheep, goats, and bison. Feed is only eligible for purchase or transportation if it is for the purpose of feeding the breeding animals. Breeding animals are mature females, including replacement females that have been bred. Immature replacement females are not eligible. Males used previously for breeding are eligible. Eligible activities and expenses for livestock feed and feed transportation include purchasing and testing eligible feed that is required by the breeding animals for the wintering period. Similarly, transportation of purchased feed to the breeding animals is eligible for the same purpose. Eligible expenses can have incurred from June 1st, 2021 to March 15th, 2022. It is recognized that due to drought conditions, some producers may have had to start sourcing winter feed as early as this summer. What are the eligible feeds for the program? They include grazed corn and green feed, mechanically harvested hay, silage, green feed, stover, straw, including those purchased as standing crops or grazed in a swath. Grain and concentrates are eligible. Please note that canola meal and soybean meal have been added as eligible concentrates. Ineligible expenses include feed purchased for market animals or immature replacement females, feed produced on your own farm, feed for breeding animals that are sold or culled before March 15th, 2022, because the objective is to provide assistance for breeding animals that can be maintained and help them be maintained over the winter, feed that is resold, and pasture rental or leasing costs. How are program payments determined? Well, let's first look at feed purchase assistance. For purchases and testing of eligible feeds, a producer's share will be applied to qualify for the program. The producer's share is the initial eligible feed and testing purchases for which paid invoices must be submitted before the program starts to cost share. These invoices are the applicant's upfront cost. Payments then start and will be equal to 75% of the purchase cost of feed and feed testing that exceeds the producer's share up to a maximum per head payment. For beef cattle, dairy cattle, bison, and horses for PMU, the producer's share is $50 per breeding head. The maximum per head payment is $250 per breeding head. For sheep and goats, the producer's share is $10 per breeding head, and the maximum payment is $50 per breeding head. At what point are program payments capped? For beef and dairy cattle, bison, and horses for PMU, program payments are capped once $383.33 in eligible invoices are submitted per breeding head. Because at that point, from that total will have been subtracted initially the producer share of $50 per breeding head. So that is the value of invoices first submitted that is deducted and not included in the amount that is cost shared. So subtracting the $50 from the $383.33 leaves you with net eligible invoices of $333.33 per breeding animal. It is this level of net eligible invoices that is then cost shared at a 75% rate. So you will be reimbursed for 75% of this amount. So if you multiply 75% by the $333.33 of net eligible invoices, you get a total program payment of $250 per breeding head, or the maximum that is allowed. For sheep and goats, the program cap is reached when a total of $76.66 in eligible invoices per breeding head are submitted. From this total will have been subtracted the producer's share of $10 per breeding head. So that's the initial invoices that are not cost shared. This leaves the cost shared amount of net eligible invoices of $66.66 per breeding head. This level of invoices is then cost shared 75%, and so the payments from the program will be 75% of the $66.66 of net eligible invoices, giving a total final program payment at the cap of $50 per breeding head. Now that you've seen how payments can be calculated on a per head basis, let's take a look at an example of an actual farm. In this scenario, consider a producer who declares 100 eligible breeding head and submits 4 applications from now until March 15th, and each application is for $10,000 in eligible feed invoices. What is the producer share? Well, it's $50 times the 100 eligible beef breeding head, or $5,000. This is the value of initial invoices that is not cost shared. What is the maximum AgriRecovery assistance? It is $250 per head times 100 eligible beef breeding head, equal to $25,000. So in this example, there are 4 submissions. Each submission, each claim that's made, has a total of $10,000 in eligible feed invoices. In the first submission, the producer share is taken off the top. So that's, in this case, the $5,000 producer share is subtracted off of what is considered eligible from this first submission. For what remains, the remaining $5,000 is cost shared 75%, so that ends up being a government payment of $3,750 on the $5,000 that is eligible for cost sharing. For the next 2 sets of invoice submissions of $10,000 each, well, there's no producer share, so those submissions are fully cost shared 75%, with $7,500 being paid from the program for each submission. In the final submission of $10,000, things are a little different. The producer is reimbursed $6,250. And that is because at that point, the producer will have reached the maximum limit on the per head basis. Because once you pay out the $6,250, the total program payments over the 4 submissions will total $25,000. So anything that's submitted above that level is no longer cost shared. The next component of the program that we're going to discuss is livestock feed transportation assistance. That is assistance for transporting purchase feed to feed your animals, your breeding animals, over winter. An important point to make here is that this assistance is in addition to anything you may have received for purchasing the feed. So even if you reach the per head payment cap for purchases, you still may be eligible for further assistance for transportation. What expenses and activities are eligible? Well, we've already mentioned that transportation assistance is in addition to feed purchase assistance. Assistance is provided for the movement of hay, straw, green feed, stover, silage, grain, and concentrates to eligible breeding animals. The minimum distance that is covered is 40 kilometers, so less than that is not eligible. Up to 600 kilometers is compensated one way. If you haul further than that, you can still apply, but only the first 600 kilometers is eligible for assistance. The payment rates for feed transportation assistance are, for hay, straw, green feed, stover, and silage, 16 cents per ton kilometer for the first 100 kilometers of a haul, then 10 cents per ton kilometer for the remainder of the haul up to an additional 500 kilometers. Grain and concentrates are compensated at a rate of 5 cents per ton kilometer up to 600 kilometers. For custom haul, it is lesser of the truck invoice and the value based on these payment rates. As an example of how feed transportation payments are calculated, consider an example of where you haul 200 straw bales, 1,000 pounds per bale, for a distance of 175 kilometers one way. First, you have to calculate the total weight hauled. So that's 200,000 pounds or 90.7 tons. On the first 100 kilometers, you're paid 16 cents a kilometer. On 100 kilometers times 90.7 tons gives you a program payment of $1,451. For the remainder of the haul, you're paid 10 cents per ton kilometer times 75 kilometers times 90.7 tons equal to $680 on that last part of the trip. The total program payment is $2,131. If you custom hauled, it's the lesser of the trucking invoice and the amount calculated at these rates. The second of the two programs announced is Livestock Transportation Assistance. This is assistance for moving breeding animals to feed when you cannot source feed for them locally. Livestock Transportation Assistance was developed to assist with moving breeding animals to an alternate feeding location for overwintering in order to access feed. Examples of alternate feeding locations include movement of your breeding animals to a custom feeding yard, or paying for your breeding animals to graze a crop producer's acres of drought-stressed corn. Who and what is eligible for livestock transportation assistance? Well, primary producers who owned or leased the eligible animals as of June 1st and continue to own or lease them to March 15th or later are eligible. That is, you're eligible to apply for transportation assistance for the breeding animals that you will be keeping over the wintering period. Eligible animals include breeding head of beef, cattle, sheep, and goats. Breeding animals are defined as previously, which is mature females, including replacement females that have been bred. Immature replacement females are ineligible. Males used previously for breeding are eligible. Eligibility associated with livestock transportation assistance. Animals must remain in the new location for at least 30 days. They cannot be sold or marketed prior to returning to the location of origin when temporary feeding is complete. A minimum distance of 40 kilometers to a maximum one-way distance of 1,000 kilometers is eligible for assistance. The return trip is also eligible and in fact is required. Eligible expenses can be incurred from August 1st to June 30th. So this is a later start than for feed purchase and feed transportation assistance, but also a later finish intended to provide plenty of opportunity to return the breeding head to your operation next spring. What is ineligible for livestock transportation assistance? Well, movement of breeding head to the normal wintering location, movement of dairy cattle, horses, or bison, movement of market animals or immature replacement females, movement of breeding animals sold or culled before March 15, 2022. This assistance is for helping to maintain the breeding animals over the wintering period. It is also important to know that livestock transportation assistance to a new alternate feeding location cannot be combined with feed transportation assistance to that same location. The understanding is that the animals are being moved to a new location where feed is available locally. So you cannot get transportation of animals and feed to the same location. However, you may be eligible for feed purchase assistance at that new alternate feeding location. The payment rates for livestock transportation assistance are based on the head and kilometers transported. For breeding head of beef cattle, it is 8 cents per head per loaded kilometer. For breeding sheep and goats, it is 3 cents per head per loaded kilometer. The program timelines for eligible expenses are for feed purchase and feed transportation. It is June 1st, 2021 to March 15th, 2022. Livestock transportation drought assistance is for costs incurred from August 1st, 2021 to June 30th, 2022. The application deadlines are for feed purchase and feed transportation, April 15th, 2022. For livestock transportation, July 30th, 2022. How do you apply? Well, the first step is you need to receive an application forms, declaration forms, and an AgriRecovery drought assistance guidebook for farmers. You can get this by downloading it online at the Manitoba Agriculture website, by calling the toll-free number and having a copy mailed to you, or picking one up in person at the closest ARD and Mask Service Center. The next step is to declare the number of eligible breeding animals. A declaration is mandatory for your first application. On it, you declare the number of eligible breeding animals that will be maintained over winter. If in future the number of eligible animals being maintained over winter changes, please contact the program administrator. Anytime you apply and submit a claim, invoices and proof of payment are required. So have your invoices available for whatever you're applying for, including feed purchases, feed transportation, or transportation of eligible livestock. Invoices must be legible and itemized. Proof of payment is required. It is highly recommended that you read the application checklist in your application package for further details. If you have self-hauled feed or livestock, you will need to complete a self-haul declaration form that provides details of the feed or livestock transported. You will still need to provide invoices and proof of payment for feed purchased if you transported purchased feed, and invoices for showing that you had to access the feed at the alternative feeding location if you transported livestock. And at this point, you're ready to make a submission, so verify that you have the information needed. Your application form or forms, with your first application, your mandatory eligible breeding animal declaration, with all applications, invoices, and proof of payment, copies, not originals. Self-haul declaration, if you self-hauled feed or livestock, and remember to check all the boxes on all the declarations. On our website and in the application package, you will find the guidebook, application form, and declaration forms, as well as a range of supporting documents, including the application checklist, the fact sheets on examples of payment calculation, and frequently asked questions. You should check the website regularly to see if anything has been updated. For example, we recently updated our guide and some of the supporting documents. As we get questions, we'll also be adding further information to help make sure you have all the information available. Thank you very much for participating in this webinar, and we'll stop now and take questions. Thank you.